I often use the word presence to point to this that is everything, this singular reality. And, um, it's interesting because we have this sense, conventionally that there's a lot of different things that are present, right? You know, um, I'm present here, the table is present, and my computer is present, and the lights are present, and the sky above me is present, and all of you are present, right? And that's true in one sense. It can be experienced in that way, of course, and is often. Um, but I invite you to just feel how there really is just one presence here from another perspective. If you feel the presence of you, your being, your body, your consciousness, your personality, you, it's present here you are, right? Now, I'm speaking, and so there may be some sense that I exist as separate from the presence of you, but I'm present to you. The sound of my voice is present to you, isn't it? So feel the presence of you and feel the presence of me and the sound of my voice. Is it really two presences, or is it one presence? Or you could say like a continuum of presence. And pick anything, anything you're noticing, anything you're noticing as an experience you would think of as a subjective experience, or any of the objects you're perceiving, or the idea of there being a world outside of you, anything that you're perceiving as other than you. Feel the presence of that. It's here, right? Whatever's showing up, whatever's appearing, whether it's a quote unquote internal experience or some object outside of you, is here, right? Showing up. That's its presence. So just feel the presence of all of it, everything that's appearing, the presence of it, including you. You're yet another apparition, another appearance of whatever it is that's appearing. And feel the presence of it all. It's not a multitude of presences, it's one presence, isn't it? If you think, you feel the presence of yourself, the body, mind, the organism, and then imagine there's a world outside of you. Go ahead and feel the presence of that world presumably outside of you. And do you find a gap between the presence of you and the presence of the world outside of you that isn't you? Or do you just find presence and more presence? Even if there was a gap that you could identify separating you, the presence of you, from the presence of the world outside of you. Okay, well, I just found the gap. There's the gap, but that gap would be present, wouldn't it? The chasm between you, the dividing line between you and the world, between me and the world, between me and all of you, that gap would be present. You see, like all I can find is presence in that sense. Everywhere consciousness travels, it finds something, that which is appearing, we could say. The momentary perception is presence. And that's all there is just pure presence, the presence of everything. And it's a single presence. It's not split up, is it? Feel presence and keep feeling presence and move beyond any presumed outside of the presence of the moment. And what do you find? The presence of the moment, don't you? You can't get outside of presence to find non-presence, to find something other than presence. You just find this all-pervading, seamless whole of presence. Not two from this perspective, you don't find two things, do you? Or a multitude of things. You find a singular presence appearing as the multiplicity, to be sure. It's like all the different, flavors of presence that appear, the flavor of each one of you appears as the flavor both visually and the sense of others, the sense of other phenomena that are distinct, say, from the phenomena of me. Like we can recognize the differences, but all those differences that we perceive, all the different colors of life, all the different flavors of life, all the different supposed parts and pieces that make up this life are all here. They're all present. That's their basic nature. It's just one limitless expanse of presence, isn't it? Without any end, without any boundary lines. There's no non-presence. There's no missing in the whole of experience. There's no spaces where there's not presence. Presence fills the entirety of the space of experiencing, doesn't it? It is the space of experiencing. Presence, they're the same thing. And it's here effortlessly, isn't it? That's not because we're sitting here noticing it that, I mean, it just is. The presence is just here spontaneously, springing forth somehow. Presence of what is. Shining forth as this unimaginable diversity of flavor and color and texture and quality and but there's no separate individual standing outside of the presence noticing it right now, is there? It's just presence. Presence noticing presence, we could say. Because what's perceiving the moment is pure presence, and what's being perceived is pure presence, isn't it? It's undivided, no division. And so from this perspective, one of the reasons it's so powerful to explore this and get familiar with this perspective, you could say, experientially, is that there's not one thing imposing itself on another thing. There's not one thing colliding with another thing, or one thing potentially overwhelming another thing, or threatening another thing. There's no things. There's just sheer, pure presence resting inside of presence, resting inside of presence. Just pure, I could say pure being. Pick your favorite word. I could say God. I could say the mystery the miracle of life. There's what word do we give this that it is everything? There's no word, right? But presence captures something of its primal, essential nature, I guess, right? It's evocative to me, certainly. Presence, the word evokes the sense of the palpable, concrete, alive, vital nature of this. It's not a thing, but it's in that sense it's no thing, but it's full of being, full of presence, full of rich, bottomless, fathomless life, isn't it? And everything is that. Isn't every momentary perception, regardless of its descriptive label, full of immeasurable presence, boundless, fathomless, endless depth of presence that's down, 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 as far as you might go exploring its nature, you just keep finding presence, don't you? Which doesn't have a clear resolution to it. It's just, but we call it presence. And do you find anything else but presence? That's a question. Do you ever find the absence of presence? If you found the absence of presence, that would be present. You see. And something always seems to be found. Something always seems to be here. Even the deep, dark, seeming nothingness of deep sleep is pure presence. The deepest silence of, you could say, a deep meditation or something is pure presence. And the complete cacophony of, you know, New York City on New Year's Eve is also pure presence. They're not different in that sense. They're all different versions of life, of presence. So we don't have to go looking for this pure presence because A, it is what's looking. It is what's being here. It is everything that's being here. And this that's being here, that is present, is here effortlessly. So it doesn't require any doing, any work, any effort. But you could say, take the slightest bit of effort to notice the effortlessness of this, the ever-present presence that is the very ground and essenceless essence of everything, with no separation, right? Because where is the separation? It's never happened. Separation has never happened. The presence hasn't split itself and flung itself away from itself. It's always just itself. It never leaves itself to become something other than presence. Even as it's assuming all these temporary apparitions and forms, it always remains itself, pure presence. Doesn't matter what the mind's doing, doesn't matter how much interpretation is present or not, doesn't matter what you're doing, how you're engaged with life, because all of that is pure presence. But somehow noticing that that is the case and coming to appreciate the pure presence of everything, um, I don't know, it just feels better somehow. like coming home. Coming home to realize you never left home because there's only home. Every It's like I remember writing some years ago now, this image came to me of like reality is this infinite mansion with an infinite number of rooms, experiential rooms. And every time another moment arises, another experience arises, it's like you're in this new room in that moment, the uniqueness of that particular room that you're in, but you're always in the mansion of reality. You never leave the mansion. You're always home. You're just moving in and out of different rooms. Oh, what's this room like? This is kind of different. This is an amazingly beautiful room. Or, my God, this is just a painful, difficult room. But you're always in the home of the mansion of presence, the infinite. So tell me, do you find anything but pure presence anywhere you look, anything you experience, anything you encounter, anything that arises? Is it ever anything other than pure presence? Is there anything else? Is it ever absent? Have you ever been apart from it?